I am from a sea country, and my first language is not English. Backstory. I got into an accident after my college and will never be able to have kids. None of my family members know of this. They know about the accident, but not about this. I have always wanted to be child-free, so it did not affect me much mentally. I have finished my master's degree last year and never dated before. I got a very high-paying job directly through campus placements. My parents immediately wanted me to get married after getting a job, but I wanted to work on myself and explore a bit. They said no, and I said that it was my wish. All my life I did what they wanted, and for the first time when I talked against them, they were not happy. This was last year, and they gave up after COVID started. So I picked up some dating apps and went through them, but no luck. Then my parents introduced me to a family friend's daughter, and we clicked kinda. Looking back, I was a fool. She said yes to anything I said, and never complained about anything. I felt kinda weird about it. I wanted her to express her interests, but she always said she was interested in whatever I do. Well, I did not think much about it. I said that I won't have kids ever, and she surprisingly said, okay. I was like, damn, she is probably the one, as it is very hard to find a partner who is child-free in my country, or at least I thought. But we were in the initial stages, and I have not told about my accident. Long story short, we had sex a month ago. I used condoms because safety first. The next day on, she started ghosting me a bit. I thought it was due to my performance in bed and wanted to give her some space. Then she texted infrequently and only replied okays and Ks and one-line answers. I thought maybe she wanted to end the relation and was sad, but left it at that. Yesterday, all her family came to my house and she claims she's pregnant and the father is me. Needless to say, I freaked the duck out and wanted to collapse on the ground. I did not say anything while they were talking about marriage and stuff that needs to happen because I got her pregnant. Update. Let me start off by saying I'm very, very grateful for all the Redditors who took their time to read and give me advice. I was overwhelmed by the amount of comments and how many of you said it might not even be my kid. Looking at it from a different perspective gave me much more insight on the whole situation. I called my boss and took today off. I called up some clinics to get tested and was given a slot on Friday afternoon. Then I went to the store and bought some pregnancy tests and asked only her to come to my place tomorrow, i.e. today morning. I also called my parents, and before I said anything, my mom asked me if I had any good news. I was shocked by what she said and asked me what exactly she was talking about. She then played dumb, and I knew that the situation was more ducked than I thought. I cut the call and cried all night till 3 a.m., grown-ass man crying for the first time since 8th class. She came today morning with her parents, even after I told her to come alone. They were under the impression that I was going to discuss engagement plans with them. I told them to wait outside and called her in, and they threw a fit. I told they can all go back or let her alone come in. They said okay. I took out the pregnancy tests and gave it to her and told her to prove that she was actually pregnant and told her where the bathroom was. She started screaming at me. Never done this before. I was shocked at this. Then she went out the door and called her parents in. Now everyone is screaming at me in my own home because I asked her to prove the pregnancy, not even a DNA test. I told them all to duck off, and 1 hour later, my parents and they all came to my home and they spilled the beans. She was never actually pregnant, as many Redditors said. My parents were afraid that I was getting old for marriage and wanted me to marry and give them grandchildren. They said that in arranged marriages, no need for the people to actually get to know the spouse because parents choose only the best for their kids. They planned this all and were only waiting for me to have sex with her to do this. I broke down and cried again. All my life, I did exactly what my parents wanted, always scored high and never asked for anything. I told them to get out and never talk to me again, in between crying, and they said, parents know what's best for their kids, and I should do what they say. Then I got extremely angry and told them to duck themselves in my native language, which was very bad. For once, I think they knew I was serious with them, and they all left. I blocked them all before sending my parents a message to never again contact me in my life, even if one of you is dying. Cried for some more time, went through some dog videos, and went through all my messages on Reddit, and I feel like I owe you guys this update because it was you guys who helped me do this. That is all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Final update. I want to thank you all for taking your time and reaching out and giving advice. The last few days, I feel like a burden was lifted off me, especially from my parents who always expect many things from me. The first day after the confrontation was a crap show. My parents forced relatives to reach out to me asking me to see reason. I declined. They stopped after 2 days after a harsh message from me requesting no contact. I also took appointments for family planning, vasectomy, which is next month. Some people asked if I would ever tell my family about this, but I will not. My body, my business. I will, of course, tell potential future dates that I am child-free and also had a vasectomy beforehand. I, 45M, and my wife, 44F, have been married for 10 years. We dated for 6 years before that, and I got a lot of pressure to get married from my parents, her parents, her... Something in my gut said that this wasn't right. I called it cold feet and did my best to ignore it. We got married. Pretty much the moment the ink was dry on our marriage license, things went south. On our honeymoon, she did nothing but complain I hadn't booked a nicer hotel. In the following months, she wanted a new apartment, a new car, gifts, jewelry, handbags. It was never enough. It's like the moment she got the ring, it stopped being about me and became about what I could give her. I am a doctor. I make good money. Not good enough to support the kind of lifestyle she wants, though. We don't have sex anymore. We don't laugh. We don't talk about anything but money. We have no kids. She said she wanted them before marriage, then changed her mind. Our home looks like a showroom. There is no warmth or joy or even comfort here. I hate it. I hate her. I am a 45-year-old physician, and I have barely enough savings to sustain us for 3 months. I want to retire someday. I want to enjoy my life. I rented a cool apartment across town in a less desirable neighborhood, and there's a stack of IKEA furniture waiting for me to set it up there. The lease is up on the Mercedes. My wife pushed me to lease next month, and I will be replacing it with a used Prius. I'm starting therapy next week. I have a divorce attorney who has assured me that the prenup we signed before marriage means I won't have to pay alimony. I hope to leave the higher-paying job that my wife insisted I take for something with less hours sometime in the next year. I am going to ask out the pretty barista who flirts with me every morning. I'm telling her first thing tomorrow. I'm expecting her to cry and beg and demand we try therapy. I don't want any of that. This was never right, and I'm only sorry it took me so long to realize it. I'm sorry I've wasted so much of my life being married to a woman because I thought it was the right thing. I am so excited. Update. Usually when I wake up, I go for a run or a bike ride. While I'm gone, my wife gets up, gets dressed, gets a smoothie going. Whatever. This morning I paced the kitchen, rehearsing what I had to tell her over and over again. When she finally came down, I felt oddly calm. I wasn't expecting to be panicked exactly, but apprehensive at least. I told her I needed to speak to her. She gave me an and didn't look up from the coffee machine. Then I just came out with it. I told her I was leaving and that I wanted a divorce, that we hadn't been happy in a long time, and I felt as though she didn't care about me or my emotional needs. Pretty much instantly, the gaslighting began. She cried that I never get her flowers anymore, that I don't do enough to support her, that I don't care if she's happy. I brought up the fact that I suggested therapy over a year ago, and she agreed, but then made excuse after excuse not to go. I brought up the times she completely ignored the budget we worked on. I told her how it made me feel when she dismissed me when I tried to tell her how I was feeling. The crying escalated then, along with begging for a chance to make this right, to go to therapy, that she would be better. It went like I thought it would go, and I felt absolutely nothing. I don't care anymore. Whatever I once felt for her is just dead and gone, and she might as well have been a second cousin sobbing about her marriage for all the connection I felt to it. Eventually, I just got fed up and walked out. She has been blowing up my phone with calls and texts which range from angry to begging to threatening. I started getting calls from her mother and mine too, but the end of the day. I spoke briefly to my mother and calmly explained that I was sorry she didn't hear it from me, but my wife was sucking me dry financially and emotionally, and I couldn't do it anymore. She was surprisingly supportive. I'm currently in my new apartment. I unrolled the mattress in a box and went to Walmart for sheets. I ate Thai takeout for dinner at the kitchen counter and watched a bit of Netflix on my computer. I have everything I need for the next few days. My wife is getting served tomorrow. I keep expecting the sadness to set in, but it hasn't. I feel like 1,000 pounds are off my shoulders, and suddenly my future is full of possibilities. I'm going to travel. I'm going to try new restaurants. I'm going to take a job that actually makes me happy and proud instead of rich. Much to the internet's chagrin, I will ask out the barista, because despite unpopular opinion, she is both age-appropriate, it's her family's business, and I do have the interpersonal skills to recognize the difference between customer service and actual connection. Cheers, everyone. I'm going to have a beer and then take a walk around my new neighborhood.